I knew it that it's worth to invite you to River University. So I'm glad you are with us, and I hope that not only me, that we are also fascinated by the movies, especially because it gives us like perception, yes, of this what we cannot see live. And that was one of my points I take from your presentation, because you said that we have a different perception of rivers, and maybe because we don't see what's under the surface. Maybe that's the reason. I just wonder, why is that we are able to protect gorilla and we are not able to protect the eel? Yes. So maybe that's some hint for the science, or for riverine people, that that we need to show people what is the river about, like from the inside. Maybe that's some point to go further with this discussion, with actions. And what I was happy to hear, the source to sea approach, because that's other point, that we need to consider that the river is not this part just nearby us that we are passing by when we are going to work, but it's the whole system from the beginning, like to the mouth of the sea. And that's what people don't see still, I think, like if you talk to some of them at least. And this is especially close to me because I live along the Odra, because my hometown is in the Karkonosze Mountains. My second city is in the middle Odra, Wrocław, and now I live in Szczecin. So I can say that I live from source to sea somehow, and it still needs to be reminded, I think. So that's. And other point, I'm glad that you showed the E40 video, because that's the case of this harmful inland navigation project I mentioned at the beginning of our today's meeting. And Odra is the same. It's planned for the same kind of investment. So that's what we all face now. How to deal with this old style of thinking. I think it's just like that. Yes, and not to take the space from this discussion. I think we have one question already from. Just let me check the chat. I think Ellie was asking about some project at the beginning. About.
I don't see the question.
There was a question from Ellie. Are there any ideas for turning this channel into a more natural element? I think it was about one of German projects. I think you mentioned it in the presentation. Ali, can you?
I don't know.
Elisa, are you with us? I'm not sure if she's with us. Yes, the German project.
The Main-Danube Canal, maybe. The problem is it connects two river basins that were not connected for, I don't know, millions of years, have never been connected, basically. And of course, you can work on some sort of environmental engineering along the river, but actually the connection is the problem, because it creates a way for fish to invade the Rhine. And I'm not a freshwater ecologist, but as far as I remember, if you take a sample from the Rhine and a microinvertebrate sample of the organisms, I think it's more than the biomass is more than 90% of the biomass is actually alien species. And through the canal, more of those alien invasions could happen. And there is one fish species, I don't know the English name, I'm sorry, that is basically becoming really an invasion in the Rhine system that is coming from the Danube. So blocking that connection would be an ecological measure, but it's sort of impossible because, of course, this fish can actually connect to the ship and take the ship to the Rhine. And the canal was very, very controversial when it was built, and it destroyed a very beautiful valley, the Altmühl Valley, the Upper Altmühl Valley. At least from what I heard, I've never been. I don't know. You can there's maybe ways to limit the negative effects, but it was the reef shuffling effect, the biodiversity reshuffling effect was the most problematic. Yeah, sorry, this is a bit long.
I hope that this answered the question. I can see Eli asked about restitution or renaturalization process. Elisa, can you clarify what are you asking about that?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one thing that I would like to say. You living along the whole Oder River, and that the river is for you also if you're the place where you live are from source to sea, right? I was in Munich last year, and I had a chance to get a little excursion. They restored the inner city Isar River, and the Isar is an alpine river coming from the high mountains, and it's going to the Danube. And they did this amazing project, which is very expensive. It took a long time, but now in the city, you suddenly have an alpine river with gravel beds and some woody debris, and it's all engineered, but it does reflect the essential processes of the alpine river. And if you look into that river, I always think you actually see the Alps passing by, because the stones come from the Alps, the trees come from the Alps, the water comes from the Alps, and it gives you sort of a chance to reconnect to this upper catchment that you sometimes don't see because of the clouds, but if you look into the river, you see it. And for me, this is an amazing experience that I don't see in Berlin, with our rivers here, but there it made that connection. And you think about the stuff going to the Danube and further down, and that recreated in an inner city in Germany is a wonderful success, I think, and it's a wonderful experience to see.
That's such a nice comparison. I think someone asked that, did I understand correctly that navigation depends riverbeds, and that navigation doesn't make too much, if any economic sense impact?
Okay, 2 questions. First one, yes. Second, I don't really know. I am not an economist, but I've been quoting serious German newspapers that present the findings of expert evaluations, and they say there is no significant effect, and we wasted the money. And there are ports along the Elbe River where nothing was shipped last year. Of course, this was a dry year, but we invested millions and millions and millions in places where there is no shipping or very little shipping. But the first question is maybe more important, or easier to answer. If you want to have shipping, you rectify the river in a way, regulate it in a way that the water is constant, at least in a river like the Oder or the Elbe, where you have very little water. You need to create a shipping canal in the middle, which you do by means of river regulation. And the whole point is to concentrate the water there and to have a higher energy that can actually erode the sediment, because you want that, but then you can't really stop it. You want the sand to be taken away, but if it takes too much, then it goes down. And this is what we're seeing. And this is official. This is really the federal agency that is looking at these things, and they say, oh, we're in deep trouble.
And just to add, in terms of inland navigation plans, we mentioned it both. So, and economic analysis. So there is a big creation, big shout about that, about this plan, that they will increase our strength and our transport will be better. But for now, I think, yes, for now, there were no analysis, such economical or even hydrology analysis provided for that plans. And that's quite something which even shouldn't happen. I think on the autumn time, so soon, some analysis should be, like, including environmental, should be released. But that's kind of behavior, like it shouldn't even happen if we consider such large plans affecting not only environment, but affecting also society.
Mm-hmm. You know, we have expectations, and we, based on expert studies, you know, when the wall came down and Germany reunited, there were these amazing projections that Berlin would be an area with, I think, 8 to 10 million people, and shipping would sort of go like this, you know, and we're still at 3.5. We haven't, you know, Berlin population really hasn't changed in 20 years, not significantly. So some of these economic expectations were, and also other dynamics, were completely wrong. And shipping investments and large infrastructure investments are for 80 years. You know, if you build a canal, it pays off in 80 years. But it, you know, the infrastructure is built with a technical lifespan of 80 years. It's very difficult to project 80 years into the future what climate will be, what population will be, what economy will be, and I think that's already one point at the core of things. And again, I'm not an economist, but I see graphs where, you know, the expectations of what shipping would be or train transport would be, and they all go up, and then reality is and actually, you know, of course, street transport on the highways is increasing and ever increasing. So I just see that those differences between expectations and real developments, and nobody can see into the future, but we're projecting sometimes things that are based maybe on belief rather than on fact.
Exactly, I think that's good point from this. And another question: do you think that we can achieve 100% renewable energies without hydropower in Germany or in Europe general?
It's very, very, very embarrassing. I am, of course, not an energy expert, but I am a member of the EEB Water Working Group. And the EEB Water Working Group announced recently that there is a study by a coalition of NGOs in Brussels that looked, I think it was sort of put together by a Climate Action Network. And it looks at the Paris agreements, and it goes through scenarios how the Paris agreements could be met. And they come to the conclusion that it's possible to do this without any new hydropower capacity in Europe. Of course, with existing hydropower capacity, but I think they also already included a reduction of the capacity, because we will see hydropower go backwards because of hydrological flow regime changes, or, you know, sedimentation of reservoirs and stuff. So I think this study could be the reference for you. And it was just finished like in the last 2-3 months. And I think it's Climate Action Network Europe. And they come to that conclusion. So, yeah. No, I don't.
There's a question about the name of the study.
Yeah. I have an email from Sergey where he quotes it, but I could.
But Tobias, just to clarify, you don't mean the manifesto?
No.
You mean the other document?
Yeah. It's the manifesto is a manifesto. The study is really, I think it's
yes.
It was an exercise over a couple of months with researchers looking at different scenarios for the energy future. And they really went through calculations. Now you can say, oh, this is also projections, you know. But there is a study, and I don't have the name. I'm sorry, but
okay. So perhaps we can check it at our EEB group at some point, I guess, and send the link to participate.
Yeah.
This kind. Yes, I'm checking the question. I remember about Roman, but I'm checking just if we have shorter questions. And I will just add that Tobias is too modest because we are both in the water working group of EEB. And despite all the bad is happening, we are trying and we are working on good input into the EU level law, which may change the reality. Hopefully, let's work on this and let's hope for this. And what I mean, is like in particular important for me. It's a recent input to the new nature restoration law. We work in this group, and perhaps some other documents as well. So that's my comment to.
Yeah, I thank you, and really I took the freedom, the liberty to be a little, well, let's say pointed, and this was really my personal thoughts, and more from my civil society engagement perspective than this is certainly not officially an IGB presentation, right? But I really enjoy working on that or engaging on that EU level, and we have a phenomenal opportunity through this great network EEB to engage in processes on the EU level. And this is a very interesting point. This is really a very interesting point where new things are put forward by the Commission with the Green within the Green Deal. Of course, a lot of conflicts too, but it's really makes me hopeful that we will have a better recognition of rivers and freshwater biodiversity in the next years.
Yes, and I think we can say that it works because this chapter you mentioned that in EU Green Deal and the description that we are going to try to achieve the river restoration free-flowing rivers by 2030. So that's the goal we included working in this group. So I think I just want to say that we don't just sit there and wonder what will be good or bad, but for me it looks like this group it has an impact for changes, at least on EU level.
Yeah, I do absolutely think so, and it's phenomenal to be sitting in Berlin, and we have one office in Brussels, and they are in connection with the Commission, and you don't have to sit in Brussels all day to be part of the discussion, at least. And you can make a contribution from basically anywhere, because if you connect with the right network, you are represented, and that's wonderful. It's actually, for me, for some reasons easier to engage on the European level than actually in Germany. More direct.
All right, so I will give the floor for one last question to Roman. I think he wanted to say something, and then we will have Roman, are you with us?
Dziękuję, Ewo. Dziękuję.
Yes, Eva, I'm with you. Thank you, Tobias, for a great presentation. I liked it a lot. I will be watching this movie about Parker, who is enjoying white rivers. I liked it a lot.
Thank you.
Krótko mam mówić, tak? Rozumiem?
Tak jest.
Right. About E40, we must not say that this project may destroy nature. It will destroy the nature. And all our activities and your activities should be directed at stopping it effectively so that it will never be realized. they will want to apply for the EU funds because this project has no chance to be delivered. So I just hope that only the designers want to make money on it and that the project will never, ever be delivered. So let us put our forces together and let us fight for this project to never be realized.